Welcome to Wispy Willow Homestead. My name's Dina.
And I'm Riley.
We're doing an introductory tour today of the homestead. We've been here since September of 2021, and today's July 1st of 2025. We've taken this place from a house with a lawn to a thriving homestead, and we'd love to show you more about this. So all of the various parts of this video will be time-stamped. You can check the pinned comment below to skip ahead at any time. And we'd love for you guys to pose any questions or comments that you have below, or email us. Check the description box for our email address, and we'll do some Q&A sessions later on. So all of this information, also the gardening, the chickens, and all of the building projects, we're just going to do a brief intro to each one, and then you can check back later for more of our content on the specifics and all of the details on all of those topics. So as always, the best way to support our work and help us to grow the channel is to like, share, and subscribe, and even hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our content. So please also don't mind our weeds and our dust. We're just getting started here, and we're really excited to show you guys what we've been up to. So here we are at our roadside market stand. This is a shed that we bought when we bought out a number of gardening and homestead supplies. We'll talk more about that again later. But this is where we're going to put most of our produce and eggs and some other items like that for sale. And that way we can have just 24-hour access for some people to certain items. So we're going to have a lot of specific plantings as well around the perimeter of the location that will deter pests like potential for mice infestation, particularly because when you have food stores, you absolutely don't want to get any pests in the building. Again, lots of cleaning still yet to be done in here, but you can see we've got our boxes and produce items and shelving all set up, the baskets ready to go. And we've also got our egg cooler there right in front of, there's a wall air conditioning unit, but we hope not to use that, just to be more sustainable and energy efficient. And also a really neat item of interest here, this antique, I believe it's a washing basin here. We're gonna hopefully put something neat in there too. This area here is along the driveway, and we've got old chicken bedding from our deep litter method that we're composting. Once this is fully composted, our pumpkins are gonna go nuts in that. And right over here, we've got some of the plants that we have for sale. Just a number of really common flowers, salvia, elephant ear, and petunias. Here we have our very first ever tiny house, one of the other purchases we've made. We're not going to tour that today. You'll have to check out our videos to follow for the detailed information. We've got a lot of plans for that building that we'll tell you about later. Here in front of that house, we've got our raised cage beds here, and we've got our potatoes, sweet potatoes, and some of our corn, amongst other things, planted in there. We'll just give you a couple more pictures of some of the other raised beds as we walk around the property here. And this is one of our hoop houses behind me. This one still needs to be finished off. We haven't completely gotten that front end secured because this end has a little bit extra, so I'm going to take that back off and pull it over completely. As well, we've got this back of the hoop house here, if I get this on camera here, that still needs an end wall to be built. So we'll have that building project as well for you guys. The other side of this hoop house, we've got some of our plants that are going to go in. I got a really great deal at the farm store on those plants because they were crunchy, and I'm gonna bring them back to life and put them in. Got a lot of tomatoes and peppers here that we're gonna do in containers. More will be going in there very soon. As well, we've got some tomatoes left over that didn't sell here along the other hoop house. So I'll show you inside there. It's a toasty 120 degrees in the hoop house. So the heat makes it so that almost everything gets really crunchy right away and needs to be watered a few times a day. So right now there's not a lot going on in the hoop house. We will need to work on more airflow, possibly some shade areas, and definitely on our agenda is working out some automation for our irrigation system because watering takes a lot of our precious time. Along the other side of our primary hoop house, we have all of our herbs in containers. We have our geranium section. As well, we have quite a lot of additional petunias, and we've got behind me here a commercial sink base that was we got it as part of the buyout as well, and that's going to help us at the harvesting part of the gardening to clean all of that outside, because otherwise you get dirt, debris all over your kitchen. It's just going to be a godsend so that things don't need to be carried indoors, outdoors, and all around. Unfortunately, I'm a little blind in this filming, but I believe you can get the majority of this first garden up here in the shot. We've got a few tomatoes and peppers over here that are going to be growing up and creating a little bit of shade. This is our south facing area, and hopefully you can see all of our taller plantings are the sunflowers. They're going to also be filling up this area. We've got many different varieties, and those will help to create more shade because the cole crops really need a cooler environment, and the sun will just create or force them to create seeds instead of fruit or vegetables. So this is apparently very weedy, but if you can appreciate what's all in here, everything is working together. It's part of our strategic integration of all plantings so that they work together. We do also have this pea trellis here where we're going to have some peas growing up on that to create shade for those other plantings behind there. We've got a lot of these cattle panels that we've fashioned into some trellising arches, hoping to get some more vines growing up there and potentially something to tie some shade cloth or something to if the temperatures continue to be so high here. Here we have all of our peppers that are going to be needing to go in very soon, and what they are on top of is an old converted camper trailer, and the sides here lift out from the bottom to create a bit of a sloped edge, and the top pieces both come up at an angle to create two levels of slope, and then the little pieces of wood here that I can't seem to point to, these little pieces of wood are creating a stop so that the baskets that you can fill with produce don't slide down the slope. So it's a market trailer. So eventually we may park that by the roadside with our marketing shed to kind of increase our roadside presence in the years to come. It does need a little bit of work in TLC. Some of the wood needs to be replaced, so that's another pet project. And another one that looks even a little bit scarier, but I promise it's farm gold in the making. We have this trailer, which was gifted to us for free, and that one's going to be an interesting one. The idea is to create a mobile RV type bathroom system, potentially 2 stalls accessed from one of the sides, couple steps up, and then having some type of overhead rain collection and heating aspect that can then have an on-demand water system that can offer a hot water shower, and also a bathroom with a sink and a toilet where the water can be accessed either by the rain collection, or we can hook a garden hose up to it, and then you'd only have cold water. But then the water would ideally come first into the sink for the clean water, and then go into the back of the toilet to create a flush system and or to drain some of that out, and then some type of flushing system into an RV catchment, which can be drained later on. More details on that to follow. A few more trellises and raised beds here, which we will be getting to very soon. All things in good time. Over here we have our primary garden. This is prime real estate for garden area. I originally had just one section, and then that expanded, and next to it was our chicken area, and I would just throw all the weeding over to them and they would scratch through that. But I've noticed that no matter where else I've tried to put the garden, it really thrives over here. So we had our tomatoes over here a few years ago, and in fact it was about 2 seasons ago, and since then those tomatoes continue to reseed, to grow, and then any of the spent fruit that doesn't get picked just gets thrown back down onto the ground. The chickens have a chance with it, and so I throw it into the various coops, and the seeds that spill on the ground over winter, which in Michigan, where we are located, is quite a great thing because we generally have to start all that stuff indoors because it frosts in the winter. Some of the items that we have in this area, we have perennial fruit trees, perennial blueberry bushes, heritage type raspberry bushes. The chickens are coming over because they think I have something for them. We have our main corn crop going in here, and the saying in our region is knee high by 4th of July, and today is July 1st, and I am happy to report that for the first time ever, all of my corn crops are making the cut. So we also have a ton of gourds over here. I grew so many last year because I wasn't sure what was going to take, but they all went crazy, and we ended up having so many that I just left some of the gourds intact on the ground, and then this spring they are hard shelled and full of seeds, and so you step on them and crunch them and throw the seeds around, and they have reseeded just fantastic all throughout. And this is part of the integrated planting system known as Three Sisters, where you first plant your corn stalk, and that gives a tall trellis for the beans to grow on and vine up the corn stalk, and then the gourds or the squash around the base creates a very thick undergrowth layer that protects the root systems from the sun drying up the soil too soon, and it inhibits the weed growth. So again, check out our gardening videos for more of those strategies and integrated pest and planting techniques. So beyond those, we've also got quite a few squash that we're growing in here, zucchini. I threw in and amongst those some extra beets and that type of a thing. We've got rhubarb, which is a perennial, as well as perennial garlic, which are in big clumps. We're going to wait till, I believe, this fall and put those into some cleaner rows so that those bulbs can have a chance to mature and develop. This year we also had a ton of tomatoes, and in the previous years we've been able to sell those plants outright at the beginning of the season, but for whatever reason this spring we didn't sell as many as we had planted, and so I have something like 200 tomatoes. My goal is to put at least 100 of them in this main garden and then see what I can give to other people, and then some in containers, and see where we're at that point. So to help out with that, instead of having separate bush plants, even though they are very much a bushing variety with the tomatoes that we have, I've chosen to try this trellising technique that was practiced by a place where I used to work with gardening, and it didn't work the way that I would have liked that year, but there may have been other factors. So I'm going to try it here and see if we can train those to grow up these panel fences, this cage type that we've suspended up on these T-posts, and hopefully train them to vine up and out and over and see what we can do. They're planted a little bit closer than I'd like, but I do have space constrictions. So we're just going to see how that goes. I do have them roughly about 4 feet apart, row to row, and then the lengths of these panels I forgot to check, but I'm going to try to get about 10 for the length of a panel and see how that goes. It's going to be quite congested, but we're going to see how much fruit we can produce here. This area here is where our mobile coop was previously located. It was there for nearly 2 years, and we were using a deep litter method. So to a certain extent, the bedding has been mildly composted, but it's still way too hot to plant my tomatoes in that area. And I sort of desperately need this prime real estate for my tomato plants. But if I jump the gun and put them in there a little too soon, it's going to be too much nitrogen. And even if they do produce, or even if it doesn't burn the plants, the excessive nitrogen creates heavy leafing and actually reduces the amount of vegetable yield. So we're going to compost this area again using variations of the Berkeley method. I dug it out. Today's day 6 of that. We dug it all out. I dug it all out, distributed that over to the pumpkin area that we saw, and then we've added a whole bale of straw in here, and we've turned the soil once since then, and it's due again tomorrow. So from there, we are going to move on to chickens. This is what we call our pallet coop. It was a great idea, but it has some structural integrity issues that leave a bit to be desired. In theory, it works pretty well. I'm not upset with the way it turned out. The metal roof works really well. We've got some of that rigid greenhouse plastic that we've used on different elements of the build to allow for greater light in there and a bit of greenhousing effect. And we've got a lot of gaps around the edges which help for ventilation, airflow. In the winter we do put some tarps around, and this tarp helps us with some shade for the birds. But I would have done a few things different. We're going to have to make some improvements here. Our door fell off and the roofing isn't quite intact, and this edge of the building is actually not structurally sound. So join us for those videos too.
These are our gold lace Wyandottes. We have about 13 of these, and they're sex linked, so they're all pullets. These guys are pretty cold hardy and not used to being held.
Let's get a different one.
This is the only Jersey Giant in the pallet coop. They're our main breed that we want to focus on. They're a really good heritage breed, and they get very big, sometimes even around like 11 pounds in roosters. You can see just how big it is. Also very cold hardy.
We don't know yet if that one's girl or boy.
Yeah, these ones aren't sex linked. Next up we have the Lavender Orpington, also not sex linked. These guys are really pretty, and it's our first time having them. They're also very cold hardy. This is one of our Jersey Giants. This is our biggest rooster, and you can see he's very heavy. He's a very good rooster. I'm guessing he's like 12 pounds. He's so heavy. This breed is really cold hardy, and they lay lots of eggs. They're one of our favorite breeds. Over here we have some of ours from our other coop. Over here is the rooster. This right here is our white rooster gang. He's half giant, like the one I just showed you, and he's probably the most aggressive rooster here to all the rest of them except for us. I raised him from birth, so he's a mama's boy, and he doesn't really fight back a whole lot. He has the most ladies here, and he's the one with the barnyard mix. This is the coop for the chickens we just showed you. This coop we made ourselves, and in here we have barred rocks, isas, and giant isa mixes, which is what Yang here is.
So the coop itself is designed and built a bit more structurally sound, more permanent, but it is built up on some cinder blocks, but it's not tied down and secured, which became a problem only when we had some extremely severe weather, some tornado type weather that moved through our area and actually flipped the entire coop onto its back with the winds that we had that day. It ended up not being really difficult to fix. I put an eye bolt up here at the top and used the winch on the vehicle to pull it back over, and it righted itself. They don't have an enclosed run the same way that the pallet coop does, and I don't know if I mentioned, but the pallet coop is fully enclosed nearly, except for the roof area, in a lighter gauge chicken wire. So this one does have some extra gaps, but because it's surrounded by the 6-foot fence, we do not typically have issues with predators being able to access those birds. Previously, we did have some fox attacks, and we were doing our research, and the 6-foot fence has resolved that for us. And we also have quite a bit of fencing around the various areas to help with those issues. Here we are in the pole barn area, which holds my business, our recreational area, and also tons of storage. With the 2 wood stoves in here, it also extends the growing season and helps to create space where I can bring all of the annual plants in and protect them from the freezing weather. And the wood stoves are also quite an addition to our sense of security in case anything happens with being out of power. We're not stuck without heat for extended periods of time. And this is our chicken brooder.
Here we have some baby giants born about a week apart, but the difference in size is actually quite significant. The bigger ones, as I'll show you later, have been inside their whole life and have mostly just sat around eating and drinking. They haven't really done much. And then the little one was with the broody hen until the roosters started interfering, so we had to bring it inside to keep it away from any harsh weather conditions. So I'll show you those now. Uh-oh. Oh my god. They're a little ugly right now because they're just getting all their feathers in. But here are the ones that stayed inside their whole life.
Nice and plump.
Yeah, there's 2 of those ones, and then, oh my god.
They're very fast when they're this age. Any of you chicken experts know.
And here's the baby, very loud, who was with its mom. You can see much smaller than the rest of them and about a week younger.
So how many total chickens? We've got 44 chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 roosters.
Those count in the chickens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5 of those are roosters so far. And how many? 7? We don't know yet. I think so. So that's the brooder. So this is the creek that runs out back. It does not have a good flow, so we often get a very thick algae bloom on the creek, which looks kind of neat. We've got a lot of native elderberries growing along here, and the grass itself is up over 6 feet, and quite a lot of milkweed and things like that growing out here. A lot of cottonwoods, you can hear them rustling in the background, the tree leaves. And over to the side over here, we have quite a bit of overflow swampy flood area, which is actually really great for the wildlife.
Some of the wildlife include deer, turkeys that come up into our yard, and over up here on the creek, there are some cranes and some herons that come here and probably nest. Speaking of nesting birds, we have some ducks that we raised here and eventually started nesting as well.
Yeah, they migrated the first couple of years, but they do continue to come back and have their new broods here. We have also a fair amount of property out behind here that's not as accessible. We're not going to go out there today. It's really just natural space at this time. There's some trails, lots of hawthorn trees, and lots of blackberry bushes. And there's a couple of deer blinds also from the previous owner. And we've got a lot of fun plans for transforming the land and different projects that we can't wait to get into and share with you guys, and more creative solution finding and sustainable practices to share. So as always, don't forget to comment, leave your questions, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and help join us as we all grow together. So thanks for watching. So the camera wasn't rolling, but we do have about 5 acres out back with a lot of hawthorn and trails and blackberry bushes, some deer blinds from the previous owner. We can't wait to get into some more of our projects and ideas for that space in another video. So yeah, we've got a lot of fun plans and can't wait to share all of our projects, creative solutions, and more with you guys. So please remember to like, share, and subscribe and grow with us. Thanks for watching.